enhancement subgroup. Welcome to our enhancement subgroup meeting. Um, this is our November 20th meeting, and we made some changes to the invite where now the meetings will reoccur on the first and third Monday each month. We had a bit of a conflict with the TOC meeting. So just be aware of that. I don't know if how you keep track of your STO meetings, but that's the new schedule. In last week's TOC meeting, I sort of brought our enhancement subgroup updates to the TOC, and I also raised like I'll ask for like a feature for deprecation. So I'll get into that later on, but I think that's something we should be doing more regularly. Last week was a fluke, but I want to add more intention around like going back to the TOC meeting, sharing what we have, like actually asking the TOC for opinions and guidance, and maybe us even taking turns in doing that if anyone wants to like participate in that way. Just let me know. I know I'm the one sort of like co-leading it at this time, but I view this as a collaborative effort. And with that, let's jump into like status updates for ongoing work. Um, so in regards to like one of these issues that we have had, John has been the main person like approving PRs in the enhancements repo. Right now we have 25 open PRs, and he said that as the enhancement subgroup, we can like spend time like reviewing them and give him the thumbs up that it's good to merge. So last in the last 2 weeks I picked up one attempting to see like the effort it will take to actually get these pull requests merged. It is a lot of effort, so I now understand why there is a backlog. And I've been working on one because for the most part, you have to sort of understand like what is the feature, what was actually done, does the boxes that the person submitting the update, what they checked, is it actually done to our satisfaction in terms of like what we expect for the certain phase. So this is something that we need to like put more effort towards. I don't know if there are folks who are interested in like potentially just picking up one between this meeting and our next meeting to like give it a shot in terms of like seeing how you can navigate reviewing the pull requests, and also taking notes in terms of like how can we make this easier on the reviewers. I haven't taken any notes myself yet, but I'm feeling the pain, and that is motivating me to like make this better. I'm sure John could add to like the pain of doing this, and maybe we even have to discuss like, is this sustainable and is it worth the effort?
Whitney,
John, do you have any thoughts?
are these PRs mostly features that are trying to change their status? They're graduating or something along those lines? Or is this an effort to document the current status of these features?
The ones that I'm reviewing is to like update their status. I can't say if it's leaning in any specific way direction yet, but for the most part, it's either adding the feature page or updating their current status, or like just updating the checklist in general.
So as a rule, not features trying to graduate to the next level of maturity?
Say for sure yet.
Okay.
Because the one I'm working on is one of those that is trying to graduate.
And is the friction we're encountering on that particular PR related to the graduation of that feature, or is it sort of overhead friction?
It's overhead.
Okay.
And also context, in the sense of like have enough context to be able to intelligently say if it's truly ready for graduation.
Could you maybe walk us through some of that overhead friction so that we have an idea what that looks like?
Yeah, let's see. Not photo. I think there's one that I'm working on um, that you maybe have submitted.
Uh-oh.
Let's see.
Sorry, my username is a pain. I am the real Mitch Connors. I blame 20-year ago me.
Okay, give me 1 second. I can't seem to find the one I was working on, so let me know what's happening. Maybe it got closed. Yeah, it got closed. Let's see why did it get closed. Oh, the bot actually closed it. Okay, so this is the one that I was working on. I'm actually gonna, it got closed automatically by the bot, and it is in regard to promoting the resource status to beta. So this is the checklist that was added that had the description and the design doc for the feature. So this is where I'm actually at in terms of like reviewing this. Let's see if I can preview a few files. So the overhead friction that I'm encountering is actually reviewing the design doc at this point, understanding what this resource is trying to, what this feature is trying to, and because I'm doing it in my downtime, I'm always being pulled away from this as well. So that's where I'm personally stuck at. And then I haven't even gotten to the point to confirm that these checked items is truly like done to our satisfaction. But as you can see, um, let's see, there's check items underneath like confirming that user actions were done, documentation, and then also testing to our satisfaction. So I think one of the concerns will be around like how is this done to our satisfaction, and a lot of these things are opinionated too. So it's just having enough context to like develop a some opinion around like yeah, this passes the mark that we are trying to get. And this promotion is for, let's see, beta promotion. And it seems like some of the check items aren't fully checked for beta yet. But yeah, so this is the one I'm currently working on. And I'm hoping that we can have volunteers to pick up at least one. And after doing so, we can reconvene and maybe brainstorm around like the frictions we are having. Is
Thanks, that's
anyone
helpful.
interested in this?
Sorry, Whitney, I think I spoke over you. What was that?
I was asking if anyone is interested in potentially picking up one for us to move along. Okay. Feel free to grab one that you see you think you have context around, or you're just interested in learning more as well. I think this is a good opportunity to get exposure over like different features in Istio. So that's how I'm viewing it to like get through it. Cool. So that's that one. If you ever have idle time, please come and pick that up. And the next topic for discussion is related to the telemetry API work, where at this point we have the telemetry API data scope um, refined. The issues around like how do we actually promote it in a clean way. Right now, what we have available to us is using a deprecate equals true flag to denote that certain fields aren't promoted to beta. And that in itself feels a bit weird because the fields that aren't promoted to beta isn't truly deprecated. So John and a couple other folks expressed opinions in terms of like, is this a good time for us to revisit how we do API versioning in Istio, especially since we have had Gateway API sort of spearheaded this really good example around drop-in beta and using like release channels to manage the CRD versioning friction that we face in Kubernetes. So since then, I started a proposal around like phasing out beta in Istio APIs. Only Istio APIs or CRDs, and not like the larger Istio project, where we sort of drop the beta phase and we focus on two phases. One is standard, which pretty much means the features or the APIs that you get in this standard API is stable. And then experimental, where the APIs that you get in experimental is unstable and can change. And it's the place that you have like the ability to experiment with different like features, fields, and so on. So the background, let's see, the objective is for us to like transition to a new release model where we are focused on release types, experimental and standard, and it allows the flexibility of schema changes between versions. And that is our objective for this. And the key motivations is, of course, that our features within an Istio API, so for instance, like the beta API, have different varying degrees of stability, but we don't have a clear way of signaling like what level it's at, what phase it's at in our current Istio tools. And we have also chosen a while back to not use conversion webhooks to like manage schema changes between API versions. And therefore, the schemas of all versions of the same CRD has to be identical. And how we have been managing that is sort of like using this deprecated equals true flag, which there isn't any tools that actually enforce or validate that. And we are stuck like maintaining a lot of like unused fields across our APIs as well as unused like API versions as well. And then the third point is like beta releases aren't really worth the effort, especially as we see that a lot of our features are stuck in beta right now because there aren't any incentives to like graduate those features to stable, as well as of course it increases like the cost of like different API versions, which I've outlined here. And I this is still a pretty early work in progress where the model that we are following is Gateway API, and it's a good example, and there are other like projects in CNCF that is adopting this, and I'm curious to get the enhancement subgroup like review of this, and more so like contribution to like what are the potential problems with making this transition in Istio before I present this to the wider Istio community. So
Thanks
that's
for
my
putting this.
update. Go ahead, Mitch. Sorry.
Just saying, thanks for putting this together.
No problem. Please review. I don't know if anyone else has had felt the pain around like graduating the API, but yeah, I think this is a great time for us to like improve a process. Cool. Does anyone else have any updates around the work that they're doing? We can move on to other topics. So in our last meeting, we mentioned how we want to move forward is like if we are doing any process improvement, we want it to be attached to a feature that is actually being gated. And we started the work around sort of capturing what is our deprecation process and with the hope of having like a baseline to work from. And we we paused until we were able to find like a feature we can actually go through the process of deprecating. We discussed the in-cluster Istio operator in our last meeting, which was our best candidate, and the TUC agrees with that as well. And John has picked up a lot of work around fleshing out like what it will take to deprecate in-cluster Istio operators, specifically around making sure that we have feature parity with hem and yeah, so that is the feature that we are sort of focused on deprecating as a subgroup. And I hope that we can brainstorm now around like how can we as a subgroup facilitate and like enable the person who's owning the feature work around deprecating. And that's not to say John is the feature owner for deprecating this as yet, but he has taken on the work as of now to like outline what it will take to do so. And I don't want John to feel like he has to do it all, especially since we have a subgroup here that is willing to support this application process. So this is like sort of us fleshing out our contract between the enhancement subgroup person or leads who is focused on this feature alongside the feature owners who actually have the context and the ideas around like what it will take to deprecate the feature. So does that make sense? And I hope my question is like, how can we work alongside John for now or anyone else who steps up with helping deprecate this feature?
John, do you have a preference for how we come alongside you there? Like I have some ideas, but if you're the one leading the work, maybe we should do something that works for you.
Yeah, I mean, I put together a high level issue with some of the areas that I think we need to address, but they need to be fleshed out. So if anyone wants to kind of take on some of those and make them a bit more thought out designs and whatnot, that would probably make sense.
Can you share a link that issue, John?
Yeah, I'll put it on the doc in a second.
And then in terms of folks opting in to like flesh out a certain section, do you have any preference or are you like outlining what you're currently versus what is to be picked up?
No, I don't have much preference. I mean, I basically brainstormed some ideas on what we can do, but I probably won't have much bandwidth to execute on this beyond that and providing high level direction. So I put the two GitHub issues.
And these are the 5 ideas that you think we may have to take. Okay. Okay, cool. So since you put this together, you said you don't necessarily have bandwidth to move it forward. So we are still sort of shopping for someone to like drive this forward then. Oh, cool. Good to know. What were your thoughts, Mitch?
Oh, as far as like how to track work.
And collaborate with like whoever is moving this forward, like taking on the title of owning this.
So we have a lot of great GitHub tools for tracking work, both in terms of tracking issues as well as GitHub projects. The key thing to make sure is as we adopt these that we make sure that they're adding value rather than just adding overhead. So if If it's mostly just John at the moment, I would think that a lot of documentation adds a lot of overhead for that sort of operation. But as we onboard more people, it may be that more infrastructure is needed. We could spin up a GitHub project within the Istio org to track this stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. Based on the overhead, we might have to leverage something like a project to give more granular assignment of tasks. Cool. So I think our biggest thing that we have to do is find someone who's interested in this to drive the work forward. Is anyone on the call right now interested in this? What are ways we can go about finding someone in Istio who has like aligned interests in this? I guess we can bring this up in the combined working group meeting next week. And we could probably leverage like the Slack channel.
That's a good idea. Get a lot of feedback. I mean, these are the people that we're going to be asking to use whatever this collaboration system is. So
Is there a Slack like working group that is mostly aligned with the in-cluster Istio operator?
Environments.
Yep.
Environments. Cool. I think what we are shopping for is someone to like continue the work John started with these issues. So it's more like, hey, anyone wants to pick up this issue? So I think one of the things we can do is like post it in the environment Slack and bring it up in the combined working group. But as of now, I don't have bandwidth to pick this up. It doesn't seem like anyone else is interested or has bandwidth. So for now, it's sort of like pause until we can get some traction.
That's kind of the common problem with any enhancements work over the past few years at Istio, is that it doesn't help to have organization around enhancements if you don't have execution of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's difficult to justify open source work to your management at a company, at any company, Google, Microsoft, otherwise. It's even more difficult to justify like organizational work or work that doesn't, it doesn't have the same splash. But that's something that we can overcome by very much touting the successes that come out of this group. I think that many engineering companies are beginning to recognize the value of a good deprecation, of removal of features and simplification. So we just need to make sure we really lean into that as we have successes. That makes it easier to justify this work to our various management companies.
Yeah, and I think a lot of like the lack of interest is around like maybe not knowing or having context or like the background in this. So maybe some of the overhead we can do is help having opinions around like what approach we want to take out of the 5 John proposed, and maybe even fleshing out like the design doc at least around it. And from there we can have like more actionable tasks that anyone could jump in to like pick up, like simplifying the complexity. Yeah.
And what you
I
were saying,
think that
that's very much how we're thinking about this too, is making sure that we have like awareness of what are we signing up to support, what are things that have kind of been lagging that we would like clarification on being able to not support if there's a path to them going away, and like stability guarantees and expectations and kind of getting all that kind of stuff aligned. So that's very much like what we're heading into this work with that in mind.
yeah, because I feel like in the past the lack of execution is around the fact that the people who can execute doesn't necessarily have like the thought leadership around what to actually, because Istio is complex and the problems we are solving is really complex. Cool. Okay. Um, I will continue brainstorming around like how we can do any of these things, simplify the complexity, and find folks who can actually execute on it. If you have any additional thoughts, suggestions, or if you want to brainstorm, free to like ping me on Slack. And then my last topic of the day is just around operational tools. Right now we have like the feature status page in istio.io. Let's see. That is sort of like our source of truth around like what features we have in Istio and like what phase they're in. But this doesn't really tell us much in terms of like when was the last promotion date or when did those features have like last had activity on it. So I'm thinking of initiative around improving our visibility into that, where we can hopefully use that to like make decisions around like what features are stale, what may be up for promotion, and so on. And this hopefully is like a seamless effort in the sense that we are not creating a lot of like overhead to like manage, but more so like leveraging what exists, which is like we have these features, the YAML that is sort of the truth, and just improving like the schema for that, where we potentially have like last graduated on it, and use that features that YAML as the source of truth for any like Google Sheet automation that we can do that can sort of like flag any features that we have that hasn't been like touched or need some attention. So that's what I'm thinking there. This is the issue for it. Feel free to like review it if you're interested in potentially picking up one or driving this entire effort. Feel free to assign yourself. I have myself assigned right now, but I'm gonna clear that. And this would be good in terms of like helping us dictate our roadmap from like a feature focus perspective moving forward. Any questions? I actually had a question in regards to this. So like I said, the features that YAML in enhancement repo is the source of truth for like what we see here. And I saw that there's like a sync job that happens between istio.io and the enhancements repository, but I'm not sure what triggers this. And what the job does is pretty much like fetch the latest features that YAML from enhancement subgroup and bring it into istio.io. Jen, by chance, do you know what triggers this?
Yeah, there's some job somewhere, either a post submit or a cron job. I'm not sure exactly which one. But
Okay.
Yeah, you can find it in the test info repo with a job definition.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that. I guess I have to figure out if it's based on like the enhancements repo pull request, because I saw some over there that didn't trigger it. So yeah, I can do more investigation there. Cool. That's all on my end. Does anyone else have any topics that they would like to discuss? Cool. Well, I guess we can get back the rest of our time. And I hope everyone in the US have a great Thanksgiving. And my DMs are always open, so feel free to ping me if you have any afterthoughts or suggestions or feedback. That's all today. Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Take care, y'all.
Thanks. Bye.